the Bitcoin Bunker. I'm your host, Satoshi Down Under, and tonight I want to talk about unit bias in regards to Bitcoin and why I think so many people stay away from Bitcoin and enter the shitcoin casino that you can see here on CoinGecko. If people even dare to step foot into the crypto space, quote unquote, typically what they do is they look at Bitcoin and its dollar value and they say, fuck that shit, it's 100,000, 98,000, 88,000, I'm not buying that shit. What's the next crypto I can buy, right? And this is the mistake that they make, and it's to do with unit bias. So what's unit bias? Well, basically this happens in stocks as well. People will look at the share price, or in the case of crypto, the token price, and without looking at the market cap or any other fundamentals, they will decide, oh, $1.90 XRP is cheap, right? I'm going to buy that instead because I'll be able to get so many more XRP for my $1,000 than I will be able to get Bitcoin. And they don't understand the fundamental differences between Bitcoin and these other currencies. And that difference is proof of work. So we know through prior episodes that Bitcoin is tied directly to electrical energy, or watts expelled or used in order to mine and receive the Bitcoin that was created. On top of that, we know there's a hard cap of 21 million coins. A lot of these other tokens have supplies in the billions, and that's why their price reflects that. So this is the same for shares. I remember back in the day as a young investor looking at shares, I fell into this trap. I would compare two mining companies, penny stocks or whatever, and I'd look at the one that was 0.005 cents as opposed to the one that was $5, and I would immediately make up my mind that the better deal was the one that was 0.005 cents. And this mistake came because I didn't look at two of the other functions, which were market cap of the company and the shares on issue, how many shares were out there in the supply. Similar to this story with XRP, billions of tokens in supply versus 21 million Bitcoin. And so simple math will tell you that the more shares that are out there on issue, if two things have the same market cap, two coins or two companies have the same market cap, but they have a different dollar denominated price, one just basically has far more shares on issue than the other. Okay, the market cap is the same. The total value of whatever it is you're looking at, the two things you're comparing, if they're the same and the price is different, it means that the supply is different. Okay, so knowing that, I think this is the thing that scares a lot of non-Bitcoiners when they come into the space. Instead of learning about Bitcoin and reading about Bitcoin, they look at Bitcoin, they might look at a chart over time and say, oh, it's had a phenomenal run. What if one of these other things can do the same thing? Bitcoin used to be $3. Well, XRP is at $1.90. So, instead of buying Bitcoin, why don't I just buy XRP? And hopefully in 5 years it does a Bitcoin and it does, $10,000, $100,000. And they don't understand anything about either of the two tokens. I mean, Bitcoin's not a token, it's a protocol. We'll discover that further in other episodes. But they compare these two things as if they're the same and as if any of these other coins have the same potential. So I'm not going to discuss shitcoins, but it was a good way to illustrate unit bias. And so further to this, what people will do is they look at that price and they say, well, I'm never going to be able to buy a Bitcoin if you're in Australia here, for 128 grand. Like, what's the point? I can't even buy one. And they're forgetting that there's only 21 million of these, right? And they also forget that each Bitcoin is divided up into 100 million parts called Satoshis. So if you just change the frame of reference in your mind from trying to buy a whole coin, a whole Bitcoin, and you say, I'm going to buy some Satoshis today, and that's 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin, right? But if there was no terminology of what 100 million makes one Bitcoin, right? And all it was the unit was Satoshis, and you could buy any number of Satoshis for $1,000. Let's just check out this site. Sats to USD. You know, you could suddenly feel better psychologically, because all this is a psychological trap that your mind plays on you, right? We like to think in whole numbers. We don't like to think in fractions. So when someone says, if I buy $1,000 of Bitcoin, I'm going to get 0.01 Bitcoin, you know, like, well, that's nothing. That's fuck all, right? That's what you think. Everyone thinks that. So if you think in Satoshis and you change your frame of reference, you could say, wow, for $1,000, I can get 1,126,799 Satoshis. Fuck yeah, let's do it, right? So it's all about changing your frame of reference, how you think about Bitcoin, and it's kind of helpful if you're starting out to think in Satoshis. How many Satoshis have I got? I just bought another 1,000,000 Satoshis today. Wicked, let's go. Because when you think about there being 8 or 9 billion people on the planet, allegedly, everything divided by 21 million, how many sats can everyone get? You know, we're not talking everyone gets a whole Bitcoin. Now, I advocate for trying to get to a whole Bitcoin. I mean, that should be the goal. I think we're still very early in Bitcoin's story. 16 years in, coming on 17 years in. I think we're in the early days of the internet, if you were to compare it to something else. So I think there's opportunity there. If you work really hard and you want to try and get to one Bitcoin, you should do that. Set that as a goal. But stop thinking in terms of how many Bitcoin you got and start thinking about how many Satoshis you've got, because these Satoshis are going to be worth a lot more to you down the track than they are today. And while I think it's good to have a target of one Bitcoin, I recognize that that can seem unachievable for most people. Now, as your conviction builds in Bitcoin, when you do the research, you read the books, you listen to 1,000 hours of YouTube content that's out there, I think what you will do is you will far exceed your expectations of how much Bitcoin you will acquire, because you will finally come to understand that this is the ultimate monetary unit. And this is like investing in the internet. If you were able to buy the internet back in inception, you're essentially buying shares in the internet by buying Bitcoin. So adjust the unit bias. Don't let that get in the way. Think in Satoshis. Every $1,000, you're getting them 1.1 mil Satoshis, right? Start thinking like that, and it might just be a way to help you stay convicted, help you feel like you're getting somewhere, not looking at a measly number like 0.01 and feeling dejected by that. So yeah, I think the unit bias thing is a massive hurdle for most people looking at the space, looking at getting into Bitcoin. And then on top of that, they look at Bitcoin's history. I'll bring up the chart. And then, you know, without understanding Bitcoin, it seems like this thing can't keep going up forever. Maybe I've missed the boat. Excuse me. So, you know, when you zoom out, you look at this and you go, well, fuck me, it was like $112. You know, then it was $500. Now today it's 88,000. Like, how much more has this thing got in it? And to me, the answer to that is, what's infinity divided by 21 million? And you might laugh at that and think I'm crazy, but if you think that Bitcoin, like I do, will become the sole monetary unit for all of civilization, and you then divide all human productivity, any technological advancements, anything that we produce, and you divide it by that monetary unit that's hard capped at 21 million, you will understand that it will go up forever. As Michael Saylor said to Laura in an interview, it's going up forever, Laura. And he's right, because he understands Bitcoin. We all us Bitcoiners have come to this conclusion now. We're not all crazy. Some of us are crazy, but we're still right about this one thing, that Bitcoin's going up forever because of its hard cap supply. And it's hard to get out of the paradigm that we're in of the current system, which is your purchasing power decreasing over time and your $100 US not buying you the same now as it did 5 years ago or 2 years ago, right? So Bitcoin's deflationary, and the Keynesian nightmare that we live in is an inflationary system. So they're completely opposed systems. And so don't get turned off by the unit price being so high and thinking that it can't go much further or you've missed the boat. We're only 16 years into this thing, and finally now, after 16 years, people are starting to get on board. They're at least starting to recognize that, oh, okay, this magic internet money thing isn't going away, but I don't think enough people are ready or at the point where they're thinking, maybe I should actually allocate something to this, even as an investment. And I do not think that Bitcoin's an investment at all. I think it's the new monetary unit that will be adopted globally because it's the only one that requires no trust, right? It doesn't require Russia and the US having to trust each other. So it'll be the settlement layer for all transactions, given enough time. And therefore it'll continue to go up. And that's because of that hard cap of 21 million coins. So yeah, don't get despondent when you're buying 0.01. If you need to convert to sats, go to one of these calculators, Satoshis to USD. It'll make you feel a lot better. $10, buy yourself 11,000 Satoshis, do yourself a favor. But yeah, I think it's one of the things that is a bit of a trap for people. Stay away from the shit coinery. Like, I've been there, I've done that, and you might make some gains. You'll probably hang on too long, you'll lose them. I do think we're coming, I probably regret saying this, but I do think that we're coming to the end of the shitcoin casino. Been through a couple of cycles now. Each cycle had some sort of compelling use case for all these cryptocurrencies. Each cycle goes by, these scammers have more and more trouble trying to find some new sell, some new story. And we've seen that in the last bull run that we had last year and in 2024. A lot of these coins underperformed and never even really took off to any great extent. No real euphoria. So let's hope that the crypto space as a whole, useless as it is, sort of dies off. I think it is. People are starting to recognize that Bitcoin is different, and we're going to keep exploring that on this channel. That's all for this one, but yeah, use the calculator, if you're feeling like 0.01 is not enough Bitcoin, convert to Sats, and I'll catch you on the next one.